So welcome to Testbirds webinar about Internet of Things, a new challenge for testing. Within the next 45 minutes of this webinar, we have some interesting topics, and those topics will be brought to you by three hosts today. So we have Michael Garter joining from Deutsche Telekom, one of Testbirds' clients. His role is Service Launch Manager, and he will talk about the launch of one of the products of Deutsche Telekom. Next to me, joining from Testbirds, is David. He's Senior Project Manager QA, and he was working together with Michael Garter on that project. And my name is Philipp Benkler. I'm one of the founders and CEO of Testbirds, and I will introduce you into our company as well as into the area of Internet of Things and current challenges in testing. At the end of this webinar, we will have time for everyone to ask questions. And in the meantime, I would kindly ask everyone to press the mute button so that we'll have best audio quality for everyone. So on the agenda, today we have four main topics. The first one, obviously, I'll give you a very quick introduction about Testbirds if you're not aware of the company, or if you've been in touch with us before, giving you an update on what has been happening at Testbirds. Then followed by an introduction to Internet of Things and challenges, particularly in that area when it comes to testing of applications for the Internet of Things area. And then my colleague David Lukela and Michael Garter will walk you through our case study of the Entertain TV launch and various test cycles that we've been running together. And last but not least, we will have enough time for any questions that you have for the three of us. Let's get started with the first agenda item for today about Testbirds. So a few slides only here. It's about what are the current challenges in the testing market and what are we trying to help with and what our solutions look like. And some of those solutions have been applied to the testing of Entertain TV. So from our point of view, we see four main issues. They apply for the testing market in general, but also for the IoT space. So one of the topics is the organizational blindness. If we have internal people testing applications, this can always lead to issues because those internal people are getting biased and they know the path for a successful test case, whereas unbiased people definitely test differently. So that's one issue. But secondly, it's not only about organizational blindness, but also about the target relevance. It's not, we're not only looking for defects nowadays, we're nowadays also having heavily invested into user experience and usability. So, and that should be validated not only by user experts, but also by everyday people, speaking about the target group. So target groups should give input to an application in order to make it successful. Then third is the lack of resources, particularly in an agile world where sprints get quicker and quicker and more testing is needed, not only at the end of a large project, but also in the meantime. So time pressure, budget, and priority of other projects can become an issue. And last but not least, through the success of smartphones and tablets, the device diversity becomes a big challenge in the market to make sure that an application is running on all smartphones, tablets, desktop environments, and IoT environments as well. So at Testbirds, we have developed something that we nowadays call Testing 4.0, the next generation of quality, which consists of two main items. One, the crowd testing area. That's what we started 6 years ago. Currently, we count 250,000 people in our community, distributed globally in almost 200 countries. Those people sign up on our platform that we call the Nest. When they sign up, we'll ask them to tell us what devices they own. They have almost 500,000 of devices that we can use and ask them to test applications on. Devices could be anything from a smartphone, a tablet, to a desktop environment, to a smart TV, or other intelligent and smart hardware devices. Furthermore, as usability and user experience is really important, we also collect up to 65 criteria and demographics from those participants, that whenever we have a target group that we need to find, and we're asked to find and ask them for feedback, we can find them in our database. With that setup, it allows real-world testing because we don't use artificial environments. Our tests actually test in the real world with the real device that they own. And as you can imagine, those 250,000 people are pretty flexible to source and are almost ad hoc available for testing. On the other side, we've developed a technology called Device Cloud that allows access to any combination of a virtual machine. Is it Windows, Mac, or Linux? It gives access to real devices on Android and emulators on iOS. What it is used for is manual testing, manual regression testing, or to run your test automation on. So if you have a test automation script, you want to make sure it runs on hundreds of different device combinations, then Device Cloud is the go-to tool from Testbirds. But today, our area is more on the crowd testing area and how we have used crowd testing within the IoT space together with Deutsche Telekom. But before we go into the case in particular, I would like to give a quick overview of Internet of Things and challenges of testing within Internet of Things. So what is Internet of Things, or shortcut for IoT? What is it all about? So IoT is defined as a network of physical objects embedded with electronic software, sensors, and network connectivity that enables these objects to collect and exchange data. So quite a complex definition, but what it actually means is all the stupid devices in the past, such as a car, is now connected to the internet, has sensors, and it becomes a smart device. And we then talk about connected cars, IoT applications. The market is growing significantly. According to IDC, the spend on IoT in 2016 has been almost $750 billion US, and it is forecasted by Gartner that by 2020, so that's in less than 3 years, we will have 20 or more billion IoT units installed globally. So that gives us a strong growth in that IoT market of more than 33% annual growth since 2015 all the way through 2020. So what actually affects IoT? And I think everyone on the call is using one or some IoT tools already, or might have seen some of them. I mean, we have the media, which is like playing consoles, or we'll talk in our case a little bit more about that. It is in the building management, smart home, smart cities. A few of us have tools such as Sonos, Alexa, and other tools to play music at home. It will definitely also go into production, or it's already part of production, where iPads are also used in production to run maintenance, and machines getting smarter and smarter and having more and more touch displays. Security, also part of smart home security. We've seen many energy consumption, such as smart metering application being rolled out globally. The healthcare becomes more and more digital, and therefore also the IoT space. Same with agriculture. I think automotive, we've seen a lot of news recently in the media about smart driving as well. So when we now think about IoT app testing or IoT app development, and then it comes to testing, we will see additional issues and challenges to have a thorough testing. So for one, we have security issues for connectivity, because it's now not only an application that's communicating with the internet, it's an app maybe on a smartphone or a smart device, and a hardware device that has also additional sensors, sense data, and so on and so forth, which yields that the device fragmentation becomes even more complex because we're adding an additional device. So the setup becomes more complex. The amount of data will increase that is shared between all the different devices. And the real world environment where testing is needed to run with such IoT devices, not only in lab environments, becomes a challenge to meme and be in that real world environment. Therefore, we at Testbirds have been approached a few years ago from a few customers, one of them was Deutsche Telekom, on if we could not only help them with testing of mobile apps and websites and stuff, but also in end-to-end scenarios, where again, it becomes even more important that tests will run under real-world conditions. Because an IoT application is always paired with a hardware device, we need to think about how we can handle shipments, because it's not only to install an app on your device, it's also that you need to get the physical smart device that is connected to your app shipped to your house, for example, and to find those testers who are actually willing to participate in such a test cycle, as it is obviously a little bit more complex and complicated. Sharing some of our experience that we've seen with IoT testing here at Testbirds. So we have 6 examples on this slide. The first one is a telematic app that's used by insurances that basically records your driving behavior, and according to your driving style, you can earn bonus points or not, and get a discount on your insurance premium. Virtual reality headsets and smart glasses are not only used for gaming, but also in production. Several smart toothbrushes that was actually surprisingly telling you in which area you haven't brushed your teeth that well, and where you should focus on improving your toothbrushing skills. Something interesting is also the vacuum robot or vacuum robots that we've been testing. We actually had a few in our office here, and those machines basically learn in kind of an artificial way on how to clean and when to clean the floor without your personal work. Fifth example here is baby phones and baby thermometers that measure basically the temperature and push the results to your smartphone. And baby phones allow access not only if you're close distance, but also remote access to to the baby phone, which is more or less a very modern webcam. And last example we want to give just to close and give some inspiration on IoT devices is smart washing machines, where I could now check if or start actually the washing so that it is done when I'm back home later tonight. So on challenges for testing, one thing I already mentioned is the logistics. As we usually don't have an IoT, or sometimes we don't have such a test cycle only in one country, we need to consider international shipment of those physical products. If we just think of the last example that I gave of the washing machines, these are not small packages. These are heavy tools that need to be shipped and installed. So questions arise like handle the shipment, which logistic provider can be used, how can we return products if they're required to be returned, or can they remain at the tester site. And as most of those devices are prototypes or in beta stage, not all of them work out of the box. So if one of the hardware is breaking down, it's not working, how can we have a fast replacement for those hardware devices? Timing-wise, it becomes also a challenge, and I think David will talk about that, is how can we need to make sure that not only software is ready, but also the hardware has to be ready at the same time for testing, because if one is not ready, then the test needs to be postponed. Also an issue in defect management, issues can arise from several, not only from the software test, but here it can also be a defect on the hardware. So how can we divide between hardware and software problems and give good defect reports for our customers so that they can fix those as quickly as possible. Also, that due to the fact that for most IoT environments, setup is required, some kind of help desk or technical support should be established in order to help the participants, the testers, to set up those environments without issues. And finally, the liability issues, where there could be a potential damage. Let's take the washing machine again. If that's leaking and we have a water leakage in the private property, so who takes care of the liability? So that was hopefully a quick introduction into the world of IoT, into the world of IoT testing and its challenges. And now I would like to hand over to our guest host, Michael Gata from Deutsche Telekom, to walk us through the case that we've been running together with you.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Brilliant. Michael Gata, I'm working at the Deutsche Telekom product department for TV product, and amongst other things, I'm responsible for customer testings for our TV product. As most of you know, Deutsche Telekom is running since approximately 2006 an IP-based TV service, which is named Entertain, and approximately 2010, 2011, figured out that the existing product is coming to end of life regarding the fast-moving challenges of the TV market. So it was decided to roll out a complete new TV product, which is named Entertain TV. And due to the point that Entertain TV should have a large variety of product features, which should be launched over a longer period, we figured out that there will be a need for recurrent testing over a period of approximately 2 or 2.5 years. So our goal was, over this period, to have a dedicated group of testers which will be able to do testings without long preparations, and so we at this point we come together with Testbirds. By the way, this is the first experience for our TV product to work with crowd testings. And Testbirds set up a dedicated group of testers, at the beginning 100, and the maximum of 150 testers and the group, as I said, was managed by Testbirds. There were a couple of requirements for those testers. They should be existing telecom clients or existing telecom TV clients. So they must have TV contracts. They should be able to test multi-devices, means they should test our TV products on TV, on PC clients, and on mobile devices, as pad or iPhone. Those guys need to have special infrastructural equipment, for example, or Ultra HD or 4K TV sets, special WLAN bridges or alternative cable connections, such as power line or or power line. So with setting up this group and regarding our product roadmap, we were able to run recurrently testings with a minimum of preparation. Normally, we were able to set up those testings together with Testbirds in approximately, let me say, 10 to 14 days, sometimes less. We were able to do those testings for a short period, for example, 3 or 4 days with a small group of testers, for example, 10 testers. Or on the other hand, we do long testings for about 10 or 14 days with a full group of approximately 150 testers. Yeah. Before I hand over, let me mention one key success factor from our perspective. This was communication between Telekom, Testbirds, and our client development department, which was responsible for the development of the new TV client. With the help of Testbirds, we had the chance of a very tight cooperation. When it comes to fix identified bugs or issues, together with a test group, we were able to get very deep and direct feedback from our customers or from our test group when it comes to analyze or to retest or to ask for the identified bugs or issues on our hardware, on the software, and from, as I said, from our perspective, this was one of the key success factors working together with Testbirds. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garter. Now it's me, David from Testbirds. I'm project manager and I was the contact person for Deutsche Telekom in this project. Now I want to talk about project processes and timelines in general, how to handle such a project with crowd testing. Yeah, to bring a test project to a good end and make the client happy, we need good processes and milestones. First of all, let me show you what happens in our standard crowd testing project. And after that, I want to show you the difference to an IoT crowd testing project.
Normally, we start with a setup phase in general. Then we want to invite our testers. So we invite the potential testers to our test. Start of the invitation phase is our first milestone, because from now on, crowd is involved and affects the whole project. Next, we start the test and review the results. And after that, the test has ended. We evaluate the test. Let's go back to the testing phase. During the testing phase, we do a briefing with the client. We talk about the goals, use cases, the questions, if it's about usability, and of course, of the target group. That's what Michael Garter said, what were the things the tester should have at home, or the context they needed, or the internet connection they needed for this test, and also the devices. And of course, we discuss the timeline. We as Testbirds, we create the full test on the platform to invite the testers. And of course, we create an account for our client that he can check the results during the test. In the invitation phase, we invite our testers. This will take, so setup phase needs normally 2 to 3 days, and if we need to recruit testers, we need about 1 or 2 weeks. The invitation phase at least needs a minimum of 24 hours, and yeah, sometimes longer. During the testing phase, the testers has access to the documents of the test. So he gets the tasks, the use case, etc., also the questions, get access to the product he has to test. And when the project manager, like me, do the quality assurance of the results are available on the platform also for the client. Evaluation can take a lot of time. We summarize results of the test. We, in case of bug testing, we create a detailed bug list. And in case of usability studies, we make a full final report, also with the suggestions for improvements. Now I want to show you the difference to an IoT crowd testing project. We still have a setup phase, of course, because we need to clarify what should be tested and set up. We set up the test on our platform. We, of course, have an invitation phase because we want to test the test with our crowd testers. In case of Telecom, for the whole contract thing and the connection thing, we needed a longer invitation phase and a preliminary questionnaire where we ask the testers what contract with the service provider, the internet provider they have. And we did a manual selection because we, for example, the 4K TV test, the Ultra HD test, we had to select testers with these devices, with these TV devices. Now it's the difference. We have the logistic part. Of course, we have to ship the devices to the testers. But also in the end, we want to get all these devices back. Logistics can be, of course, packaging. So first starting with sending the devices over to Testbirds from the client side. Then we have to package them, separate them and package them, labeling them, and with the time of the transport to the testers. And if needed, if we want to know afterwards which tester received which device, there's also tracking needed. And in the end, when we want to get all these devices back, from the testers, take also time, but this can be in parallel to the evaluation. Then we summarize the results, etc., and collect the devices back. And also here, tracking is a point because we want to have all the devices back. Put this all together: setup phase, invitation phase, questionnaire, manual selection. We have a longer timeline compared to a standard crowd test project. We have to start earlier to invite the testers and to select them. And we need to do the logistics tasks also in the end. In the end, we need more time to finish the project because of the return of the devices. So compare this, a standard crowd testing test can be done within 1.5 weeks, and an IoT crowd test can take place in 3 or 4 weeks. So that's it from my side, and we want to give you the chance to ask some questions directly to all three of us in the remaining 12 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes. So now you can use the chat and ask us some questions. Who wants to start?
No one.
Thanks for testers from the future.
I think we have the first question coming in. We're just trying to read it. Okay, more questions coming in. So we start from top. The first question was, do you send things for testers from Asia?
From Asia or to Asia?
To Asia or from Asia? I think answer both, if it's either from or to.
I can answer it with yes, of course. We had an example of the toothbrushes. We send it to all over the world, to Vietnam, South Korea, Taiwan, etc. So yes.
If we then look into the timeline that we've presented before, that might take longer, depending on on shipment duration into several countries. So then we have another question, which is, can you tell us something about regional issues? What about testing abroad? So I think that's one of the beauty of crowd testing, is that usually we don't have issues to facilitate such testing because the community is globally distributed. So in terms of IoT, the same answer as before. If it comes to logistics, it might take longer, or there might be special tax costs that might occur. But besides that, there aren't to facilitate such a testing. We don't see that. However, if the question is aiming at if there are regional defects according to localization issues, that's also something like such as it doesn't work for several operators, it doesn't work in a particular language, or any combination of that. That's also something that can be tested in real world environments using crowd testing. Okay, so that has been the question related to IoT so far. So if there aren't any further questions, we would like to thank you everyone for listening in into that webinar. We will share the slide and the recordings soon also on our website. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Our contact details are either on the website or on the slides on the page with the hosts. So thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Goodbye.
Bye.